Hello, it's Thursday, and today we are going to be making a little toad pattern. Let's get into tools and materials. Okay, let's talk tools and materials. So for today's project, you're going to need 8-ply or DK 100% acrylic yarn in 2 colors. So for mine today, I'm going to be using cream for the underbelly, and I'm going to be using some plain green for the top of my toad today. However, if you have some multicolored or variegated yarn lying around, this project is kind of perfect for them because it gives them like all of those interesting spots on their backs. You will also need a pair of 9mm safety eyes, a 3.5mm hook, pins and needles, scissors, and some stuffing. But that's it. A written version of today's pattern will be made available to my patrons and will also be listed on Etsy, and I will leave links to both in the description down below for anybody who's interested. Okay, so here is the little toad we are making today. I've been told it looks a little bit like a Pacman Frog, and you know what? I can see it. And we're going to start by making this little base potato, and we start in the middle of the belly and we work up to the middle of the back. Now, this is just a gentle reminder that on this channel we focus on the tricky stuff and we do skip over a lot of the more basic things. And I gotta tell you, the start of this pattern has a lot of really basic things in it. So in our cream, we're going to start with a magic ring of 6. Which looks just like that. Then we're going to spend the next 5 rows growing our foundation piece up to 36 stitches around. So in row 2, we're going to work 6 increases to get us up to 12. In row 3, we're going to work 6 repeats of a single crochet and an increase to get us up to 18. In row 4, we're going to work 6 repeats of a single crochet, an increase, and then a single crochet to get us up to 24 stitches in our round. In row 5, we're going to work 6 repeats of 3 single crochet and an increase to get us up to 30 stitches. And in row 6, we're going to work 6 repeats of 2 single crochet, an increase, and then 2 single crochet to leave us at 36 stitches around. There we go, whizzing through the pattern already. Then we are going to work 3 rows of 36 single crochet around for a combined total of 108 stitches. Like so. So what we have here is this little cup, bringing us to row 10. So row 10 is 2 repeats of a sequence of stitches. So we start with 5 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, then a decrease, then 7 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and another decrease. So all of that is our first repeat, and we're going to do the exact same thing again. So 5 single crochet, a decrease, 7 single crochet, and a decrease. So there is our second repeat. Then we have just 4 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That should leave you with 32 stitches around, and in row 11 we're going to work 32 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 30, 31, and 32. In row 12 we're going to start with 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. We're then going to work 3 repeats of 4 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, a decrease, and then 4 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there is our first repeat, and we're going to work that 2 more times back to the start of our round. Like so. So we should have 29 stitches in our round now. Row 13 starts with 7 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then 6 repeats of a decrease and a single crochet. So there's our first one. We're going to do that 5 more times around. 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and it's once again 4 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3 and 4, leaving us with 23 stitches. 20, 21, 22, 23, and it never hurts to check. Okay, row 14 starts with 8 single crochet, 2, 3, 7, 8, then 5 decreases. Now, as you can see, I'm working invisible decreases, but if you're more comfortable with standard decreases, those will be fine for this pattern as well. And that's 5, and then 5 single crochet back to the start of our round. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Row 15 is 18 single crochet around. 1, 2, 3, 16, 17, and 18. Now we're getting really close to the end now. Row 16 starts with 3 single crochet. 1, 2, 3. Then 3 decreases. 1, 2, 3. 3 more single crochet. 3. And then 3 more decreases back to the start of our round. Okay, so we should have just 12 stitches in our round, and at this point we're going to stop and we're going to stuff our toad. And this is the only piece we actually put any stuffing in at all. If you want to, you could also sneak a little weight into his base, maybe a magnet so you can stick him to things. Today I'm just going to go with bog standard stuffing. A few things that a toad likes as much as that bog standard stuff. There we go. I've stuffed that quite firmly. I'm not trying to like push the stitches away from one another or anything, but like just a nice firm stuffing is good. And then we are going to work row 17, which is just 6 decreases around. 6 and finish off. Now, this little opening is going to end up covered by the top of our toad, but if you want to, you can use that remaining piece of yarn to weave through the front loops only of your 6 remaining stitches, and then pull it tight to close and tuck it away inside. So there is the base of our toad. Now you'll note if you look straight down at it that the finishing off point is closer to one side than the other. That's the front of your toad, and this is the back of your toad. It kind of matters because it does slope, but yeah, for now we can pop that to one side. So the next piece we're going to make is the back piece. So this overlay starts at the tip of the nose and we work in the round to make up the face piece, and then we swap and work it as a flat piece, chaining 1 and turning at the end of each row to work up the back panel. Now I'm making mine very plain today, but because it's worked in just like flat rows, I think it'd be really easy to customize with whatever markings you prefer. Or as I mentioned before, some variegated yarn really does get the job done quickly. So for the overlay of my toad, I'm going to grab some, I believe this color is called pasture, but for the sake of today, I'm going to refer to it as green. And we're going to start once again with a magic ring of 6. Row 2, we're going to work 3 repeats of a single crochet and an increase. So there's 1, we're going to work 2 more. Single crochet and increase, and single crochet and increase, leaving us with 9 stitches in our round. So row 3 starts with a single crochet, then 3 single crochet all into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, then 3 single crochet up the side. 1, 2, 3, 3 single crochet all into the same stitch, and 3, and then 3 single crochet back to the start of our row. 1, 2, 3. So that should leave you with 13 stitches in your round and kind of a wonky little triangle type shape. Row 2 is very similar again, starting with 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, 5 single crochet, 3 single crochet all into the same stitch, and then 4 single crochet back to the starting point. It's almost a little eyeball shape now, and you should have 17 stitches in your round. Row 5 is the final row we're going to be working in the round, and in it we're going to be establishing a couple of little eye ridges that are going to help us insert our safety eyes. So we're going to start with 2 repeats of 5 single crochet into the same stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's our first eyeball. Then 2 single crochet, 1 and 2. So there is our first repeat, and we're going to do that again. So 5 single crochet all into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then 2 single crochet. So that is what I currently look like. We're then going to work 5 single crochet across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then 2 more repeats of 5 single crochet into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Being careful not to lose the stitch directly next to that. And then 2 single crochet. So 1 and 2. So there is our first repeat, and we're going to do that one more time back to the start of our row. So that is what I look like at the end of row 5. So you should have 33 stitches in your round. Okay, so from here on out we are working in flat rows. So row 6 starts with 12 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, and 12. So you'll see that's taken me sort of just around the curve at the corner of the mouth there. And we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn and work back into the stitches we've just done. So row 7 is 26 single crochet across. So the first 12 of those will fall into the stitches we literally just did. 1, 2, 10, 11, and 12. There's our first 12 stitches, and now we have 14 more to go, and they are just going to continue on into the rest of the stitches of the row. 13, 14, 15, and 26. So you'll see that sort of brings us to roughly around the same point on the other side of the piece. And we're going to chain 1 and turn. So we now have the 2 boundaries that we're going to work between, and we won't be working stitches into any of these ones here again. So row 8 starts with a single crochet 3 together, and I think this is the first time we've done this pattern. So because we're working it as a flat piece, I'm going to just do a standard single crochet 3 together, which just means I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, insert my hook into the second stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, then insert my hook into the third stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. So I've got 4 loops on my hook. Then I'm just going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on my hook to complete the stitch. So a single crochet 3 together is basically just a decrease using 3 stitches instead of 2. We're then going to work 20 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 18, 19, and 20, bringing us to the final 3 stitches of our row. And we're going to work a single crochet 3 together into those 3 stitches. Then chain 1 and turn. So your row should be down to 22 stitches now. Row 9 starts again with a single crochet 3 together, which is causing this corner to like pucker up a little bit. Then 4 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Another single crochet 3 together, 2 single crochet, single crochet 3 together, 4 single crochet, and single crochet 3 together. chain 1 and turn. And you should have 14 stitches in your row. So we're now going to work 4 rows of 14 single crochet, chaining one and turning at the end of each row. And chain 1 and turn. So there we are at the end of row 13. And now we're just going to be narrowing off into the cute little butt. So row 14 starts with a decrease, then 10 single crochet across, 1, 2, 9, 10, then a decrease, chain 1 and turn. And the next 4 rows are really similar, with decreases at the end of each row and then single crochet in between with a chain 1 and turn at the end. Okay, so we are down to our final 4 stitches, and row 19 is just 2 decreases across. 1 and 2, and finish off. So there is the overlay for our little toad. You could bring in your base piece now if you wanted to, and it's going to sit over the top. We will do a refined placement sort of thing later during assembly, but for now we're going to stop and we're going to make some little legs. Bling. I've named them, by the way. This one here I've named Butterball, and this one here I have named Confetti. And I feel like this one here that we're making today might be Taffy, but we're going to have to wait and see until after it has its face. Okay, so now we need to make a whole bunch of little leggies, and the front legs and the back legs are exactly the same up to a certain point. So we're going to start with the front legs. Now for this first leg, I'm going to show you the way you can make it as easy as possible. And that is using a whole bunch of stitch markers or bobby pins. I'm going to use 4 for this first one, though I like, once you're used to it, you won't need any of these markers. It's just like the training wheels of this particular piece. So we're going to start with a magic ring of 6. There we go, that is the sole of our little foot. So in row 2, we're going to be building 4 little toes. And we're going to start by working a single crochet. Then I'm going to take 3 stitch markers and mark the back loops only of each of the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. By just doing that step now, you're going to save yourself a little bit of fussing around as we build up these toes and for the row after the toes. So we're now going to build the first toe, which we do as a picot. So we're going to chain 3, and I do 1 normal chain and then 2 pretty tight chains. Then you slip stitch into the first chain you worked. So there is our picot. We're then going to slip stitch into the front loop only of the next stitch around. So we marked the back loop and we're just going to slip stitch into the front loop. There we go. So there is our first toe. We're going to repeat those steps 2 more times. So picot, and slip stitch into the next front loop around, leaving the back loops marked and free. And finally a picot, and a slip stitch into the front loop only. There is 3 little toes. We actually need 4. So we're going to work 1 more picot, and then we're going to work a single crochet through both loops. And we're going to take our final stitch marker and mark that stitch as well. As I said, these markers are purely acting as like training wheels to help you identify certain stitches. They're not necessary really when making this piece. We then have just 1 single crochet left back to the start of our round, and we're going to put a single crochet into that as well. So this is what we currently look like. Got a whole bunch of markers and stuff going on the back, but the front is this cool little scale shape. So in row 3, we start with a single crochet, and then we're going to be working into just those back loops that we marked behind the toes there. and we're going to put a single crochet into each of them. You can pop the markers out as you go as well. So 1, 2, 3, leaving us with 2 stitches left in our round, and we're going to single crochet into both of those. And then we're going to single crochet into this first single crochet after our final toe, which we also marked. So again, just those markers can help simplify the process of this piece a little bit. So there we go. And then we have, once again, just 1 single crochet left back to the start of our round. Pop that marker out, and that should leave you with a little 4-fingered foot and 6 stitches in your round for you to work into. And we're going to work 4 rows of 6 single crochet in each row for a combined total of 24 stitches. Like so. So if you're making a front leg right now, you can just finish off at this point and tuck that extra tail down inside, nice and sneaky like. So there is our finished front leg, and you are going to need 2 of them. So pop those to one side, pop, pop. So the back legs are exactly the same as the front legs up to the end of row 7. So I am just going to work through rows 1 to 7 really quickly now just to get us back up to that point. Okay, so there we are at the end of row 7, and that is, if this was a front leg, where we would finish off, but because it's the back leg, we are going to continue on for just a little bit. What we need to do is just basically build up a little bit of a thigh to go on these back legs. So row 8 is 6 front post single crochet around. Now we nearly got away with this whole pattern without having to touch the posts, but sadly I do think that they are necessary for the structure of these back legs. We are really comfortable at this point working through the loops on top of our stitches, but when we're working post stitches, we are working around the stem of the stitch underneath the loops instead. And because we're working front post single crochet, we are inserting our hook from the front of the work, around the post, back to the front of the work. Yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and complete our single crochet. That is going to leave you with a set of loops on the inside of your work as well, but the outside loops are the only ones that are going to matter for this pattern. So there's our first one, and we're going to do 5 more of those around. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Perfect. So now we have 6 front post single crochet around the outside of our work. In row 9, we are going to put an increase into each of them. Now the first one is going to look very squishy squashy here. So what you can do to make sure that you don't lose a stitch is count backwards from your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that 6th one is your first stitch. And we're going to put an increase into each stitch around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7 and 8. 9, 10, 11, and 12. It's a little pedestal. He now has a leg to stand on. And then row 10 is just 12 single crochet around. 1, 2, 3, 11, and 12. And finish off. So there is our little back leg, and you're also going to need 2 of those. So there you can see we have our front legs and our back legs, and the differences between them is basically just this little thigh at the top. Okay, so now all we have to do is assemble our toad. We have all of our pieces. So to start with, we're going to pop our safety eyes in. So your eyes go into row 6 of this overlay piece. So if you find your starting magic ring and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, we want them to go on the outside of each of these 2 nubbly points. 1 on one side, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then on the other side. So that's my starting point. And then I'm just going to like play around with it a little bit and make sure that they are even, because I feel like one of them is further back than the other. Whenever I tell you what row to put your eyes in, that tends to be the row I've put my eyes in, but it also can just act as a starting point because depending on your tension, the amount of drift you're dealing with, the kind of yarn you're using, how you've stuffed it, all these things kind of add up into where your eyes should actually go. I think that's pretty good looking at it from above. So when happy, I'm going to snap my backs on. Let's see if I can get some popping sounds for you all. So our eyes are in, and they are extremely crooked, and that's okay. So you'll note that the underside of the head kind of naturally folds itself over. Let it. Just let it carry itself under the way it wants to. We're going to grab our base piece, and as mentioned, the finishing off point is closest to the front of our toad. But what I want you to do is find your starting magic ring, and I want you to count to row 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's 11, and this is row 12. And I want you to position your overlay piece over the top so that the tip of the nose is over the top of row 12. I'm just going to pin that in place. I'm going to pin it a couple of times as well, just because I don't want it to slip. There is a little bit of stretching involved here, but the good news is that if your overlay piece works out slightly smaller or less stretchy, it just means that your toad has a bigger belly. I still think that's cute. Then starting from our magic ring again, this time counting towards the back, I want you to count to row 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we're going to stretch those final 2 decreases at the back so that they cover up 2 stitches from row 8. There we go, and pin that in place as well. So that is our starting position for our overlay piece. From here, you can kind of just grab the cheeks and maneuver them downwards, just so that they're sitting nicely. See how we've got like a really nice curve there? We kind of want that on both sides. We want him to look fairly even. Go. And then for this back, it's allowed to curve upwards a little bit because the legs will fill a lot of this gap. But I would still just grab it and pin it gently in place, approximately where it wants to fall. There we go. And just give it a bit of a squish, a bit of a squash. Make sure that you're happy with his overall facial expression. I am. And we could pin the legs on at this point, but instead I'm going to just sew this piece around. All right, so I'm going to take my needle and some more of my green, and I'm going to sew around the entire edge. Now, because of the way we've constructed this overlay piece, you could absolutely skip sewing down like the front of the mouth and have it be a little bit open so you can poke things in there if you wanted to. I am sewing mine down today. Take your time. Make a lot of little stitches around the edge and you'll get a nicer result than if you're just doing big chunky stitches. And there we go. I'm just going to tuck this end away. And poke that end away. That's what we currently look like. So now what we have to do is pin the legs in place. So the front legs are nice and easy. So we have the curve of the mouth and we want each of the front legs to line up directly behind that curve. So I'm just going to orient my toes towards either the front or pointing inwards for a cute little pigeoned toad look, and squash the top of the leg and line it up with the edge of the green just behind the curve of that mouth. And I'm going to pin that in place at the top and also about midway down the leg just to like fasten it against the body. And we're going to do the same thing here on the other side with the other leg. Let me check for stability. Okay, I'm happy with the position of those 2 legs. And I could stop and sew those on now, but instead I'm going to pin my back legs on at the same time so I can just sew them all on at the same time. So then I'm going to grab my back legs and once again, orienting my toes so that they'll face towards the front. I'm going to fold this like thigh piece in half and squash it flat. Now this should result in our finishing off point being sort of in the middle at the front. It might be slightly off to one side or the other for you, so don't worry too much if yours like curves around a little bit, but it's approximately in the middle at the front. And that gives us this straight edge, so toes facing forward. And I'm going to line it up with this little slope of the green bit so that the back corner of our leg meets one side of those 2 decreases at the back. You, once again, don't have to be this specific. I just try and be as specific as I can with my instructions to give you guys as accurate of a starting point as to what I've done as possible. So then this leg, which is sticking out like this currently, very cute, needs to fold. And those front post stitches are going to help that fold. Fold it up against the body, up against the leg. You can squish it up as much or as little as you'd like. And pin that foot in place against the belly. And we are going to sew that foot to the belly as well as part of our assembly. You can see there, that's kind of the shape we're looking for. Underneath it looks relatively normal. I think that confetti makes it look very confusing because of all the colors, but you can see it really clearly on Butterball. This is what it looks like on our green froggy. I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. So grab our leg, point the toes forward, squish the opening, and line it up so that the back corner touches the far side of that last row of that overlay piece. And we pin, and we fold the leg up. Okay, we check our toad for stability. My front leg is kind of identifying as a problem, so I'm going to swing it forward a little bit. So I have all 4 of my legs pinned where I want them to go. Here's a stable toad. And I'm going to sew each of my legs to the green of the body, and then I'm also going to anchor them down where they sit against the belly. And as I sew, I am making sure that my needle works through both layers at the top of each leg, so that all openings are closed off. And tuck all of your ends away inside. There is our finished toad. There we go. I don't think the name Taffy really suits him, actually. So how about you guys let me know in the comments what I should name him. So we've got Butterball, Confetti, and you can name this majestic gentleman. And there is our finished toad. Now, as mentioned, the yellow one is Butterball and the multicolored one is Confetti, but we don't have a name for this guy yet. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them for me in the comment section. Other than that, that's it for this week. Okay, bye. Where's the finished toad? You gonna play leapfrog? Chain 1. You got this. I believe in you. What we currently look like. I promise this turns into a toad. Sorry guys, I am losing my voice and there are all my bobby pins. Give me a whole handful of those. And we're going to start by working a single crochet. But we're going to work it like we know what a single crochet is. But I think it could be really fun to make like a massive dragon with like little spiky scales that look like this. But I'm digressing. So back to the foot.